Now here are your hosts for Mission Possible, Marilyn Brummett and Casey Angel.
Good morning, South Florida, and welcome to Mission Possible, the Good News program, brought to you by your Miami Rescue Mission and Broward Outreach Centers, where we are together as a community, feeding the hungry, caring for the poor, and changing lives every day. And our vision is no one is homeless. Well, good morning. I'm Marilyn Brummett, and I am with Casey Angel. Good morning, Casey.
Good morning. It's great to be here. It's great to have everybody along. Like we say, each and every Sunday morning right here on Mission Possible, there's always so much good going on in our community, and it's just so wonderful to be able to highlight it here on the show.
Well, that's absolutely true. And, you know, we have so many wonderful partners and community leaders that are in our communities in Miami-Dade and Broward County that are doing such wonderful, great things. Sometimes it's on a small scale, sometimes it's on a large scale. But it truly is a community that does come together and does a lot of different good works, good deeds, and does make a change in the lives of many, many people.
You're listening to Mission Possible, the good news program on News Radio 610 WIOD.
And thank you for sticking around with us. Today in studio, we're joined by a very special guest. His name is LaBean, and he is with Commercial Printers right here in Fort Lauderdale. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, I wanted to ask you first and foremost, we're going to get into a lot of different subjects in this, but really first for our listening audience, what is Commercial Printers really all about?
Well, Commercial Printers is a family-owned business. They started in 1970 by a gentleman by the name of Bill Rundy, and his sons worked for the company also, and now Jeff, his son, is actually the president of the company. He's been kind of passed the baton on, but Commercial Printers has always had a mindset of helping a lot of nonprofit organizations. We are a large commercial printing plant now. Started out with just a press in Bill's bedroom of his house, him and his wife at one time, and now they employ about 55, 60 people now, and been running a long time.
That's really great. And so, you know, obviously the name is kind of self-explanatory. You guys do printing, but what kind of print materials do you guys really specialize in on a day-to-day basis?
Day-to-day basis, catalogs, calendars, brochures, postcards. We actually have 3 separate companies. Commercial Printers was the first. We also have an envelope manufacturing company called Everglade Envelope, and it's been around for about 35 years. And that's where we actually convert envelopes from paper, from flat paper. And then in the year 2000, we started a company called Custom Mailing Services, and that is direct mail company. So we also not only handle the printing side, but also the mailing side.
That's awesome. You guys kind of run the gamut when it comes to printing. Like you said, you make the envelopes yourself, everything from brochures and now direct mail, everything else in between there from Commercial Printers over there in Fort Lauderdale. You talked about some of the nonprofits that you work with around the community. What kind of ones have you guys really specialized in working with over the past few years?
Oh, my goodness. For years and years and years, a number of churches in South Florida, Coral Ridge, Knox Theological Seminary, Westminster Academy, they're all tied in together, by the way, but also companies like Food for the Poor, the Jewish Federation, the list goes on and on.
That's really wonderful. Now, what kind of ways are you able to help them? Obviously, they need their print materials and things like that. What ways are you guys able to influence those nonprofits, maybe help them grow, maybe help them expand within what they're trying to do in their organization?
Well, we're always looking for ways to cut dollars and cut pennies for them. And with the experience that we have, we can do a number of different ways, and maybe they'll tell us what they want, and then we'll tell them, okay, this is the best way to produce it. So taking our experience and with what they need and finding out what their needs are, and then combining that and coming up with the most economical way for them.
That's awesome that you guys are able to use your expertise, like you said, and really be able to influence the directions that they go in those kind of printing needs that they have, because every organization organization, every business, every church, they seem like they need a catalog or they need flyers and things like that. So it's wonderful to be able to see commercial printers really be able to do that each and every day for those nonprofits in our organization. So I want to take a little bit of a left turn in this interview, because off air we were talking about some of the wonderful churches and bands that you've been able to play for. So can you let people know a little bit about your musical background and how it's really influenced your life?
Well, I started at the age of 7. My mom started playing guitar at 7. She's now 85. Would be 85 this year, and she still plays. And she was bound and determined that one of her children were going to learn to play the guitar at the age of 7. I have three other sisters and myself, and I was the one. And so I was actually, it was 1 month from turning 8 years old, but I was still 7, and that's when I started playing the guitar. And started out in country music, which my parents both played the guitar and they loved, and got into rock and roll in my teenage years, and then folk music, and I was playing in a lot of clubs and pubs up north, up in Michigan, where I'm from. And I was playing in a lounge that was connected to a hotel. And I was on a break, and this van pulled up, and these guys got out in black leather jackets, and they went up to check in. They had guitars in their hands, and I thought, oh, there's a band here. Well, they turned around and it said the 1981 Steppenwolf tour, and it was the band Steppenwolf that had been playing in Ann Arbor, Michigan, a college town up there, that night. And they came into the lounge and were listening to me play for a while, and then they came up and introduced themselves and wanted me to go up to the hotel room and party and all that, and I said, no, I don't think so. But anyway, I had to get back to work and singing and all. And then just six short years later, I was singing for Billy Graham. I got to become friends with his Billy Graham's oldest grandson, Stefan, and who is local here in the area, and had the opportunity to meet Dr. Graham and meet the family and all. And that's, music's taken me a lot of different areas and a lot of different places, and it's been a great thing.
That's really awesome how the music has really shaped your life and really been able to kind of make it wind throughout the years and, you know, be able to see different things. And so I know that we were talking off air a little bit about the fact that you work with so many different churches and bands and things like that, where you're able to really not only minister to them through song and through things like that, but also it's really been able to shape your consciousness when it comes to not only the homeless efforts and things like that, of how churches are able to help out on a day-to-day basis in all different communities around the United States. So let me ask you, I know we were talking off air about one story in particular that you had about a song that you wrote. Now, can you let our listening audience know a little bit about that song as well?
Yeah, it was back in the 90s. I was flipping through the television stations, and I came across a woman that was on there talking about that she was a pastor's wife, and she was cleaning out her closet one day. And she was going through her books and her Bibles and her study notes, and she sensed God was speaking to her heart. And he said, well, now that you know all of this stuff, and now that you've learned all this, why don't you go out and do something with it? And just a short time after that, he spoke again to her heart, and she sensed him saying, you know, we can go across the other side of the world to mission fields, but there's plenty of mission fields right here in our own backyard.
Yeah.
And her husband was a pastor, and she shared this with him, and they started praying, and they put this thing together, and I believe it was called Operation LA. They went into the city of LA in the 90s, and in the month of October, they had brought in all kinds of trailers. They brought food, they brought clothing, they brought puppet shows for the kids, and there were 60 different satellite areas set up to reach the area of LA, the outskirts of LA, and people came from all over. Pastors and lay people came from all over the world to help them, actually. And in that month of October that they did this, approximately 22,000 people came to the Lord and just rededicated their lives and gave their hearts to the Lord. And when I heard this story, I started weeping. And this one particular song I wrote is called Show Them Love, and it was birthed out of that.
That's wonderful. And so the song itself kind of, does it tell the story of what you were able to see, or is it kind of a allegorious sort of model when it comes to the actual song itself?
It does. It's actually the story itself about a homeless man in the gutter, in L.A., and he's sipping from a bottle. He thought that it would brighten up his day. He's homeless and he's hopeless. Without some help, he will decay. But if we'd only listen to these simple words he'd say, and then it goes on to the chorus, says, "All I need is love," and I could go on and on, but anyway, it's the actual story that was birthed out of that true story.
That's really beautiful, and that's wonderful. Such a sentiment that I think people in all different categories and all different communities can really understand, and really start to understand the different demographics of how people can really help each other out and just kind of listen to what they say, like you said in your song. So thank you so much for joining us. This has been Ray LaBean from Commercial Printers right out of Fort Lauderdale. Such a great story and such great insight. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
In a gutter in L.A., he's sipping from a bottle he thought would brighten up his day. He's homeless and he's hopeless. Without some help he will decay. And if we'd only listen to the simple words